Hi, my name is Michelle Nagel. So have you ever stood in front of your mirror preparing for your day, preparing to go out into the world and felt like you had to put on your armor before you could face the day? You very carefully put on your mask and the happy smile, the I've got it all together look, so that face that you wear every day, hoping that nobody will be able to see through to the cracks in your soul where you're desperately trying to keep your life from falling apart. Can you relate to the terror that that mask might slip and someone might discover that you're barely hanging on? My name is Michelle Nagel, and I'm known as America's #1 resilience expert. I'm the best-selling author of Suffering is Optional, Step Out of Darkness into the Light, a HeartMath certified trainer, and I'm personally endorsed by Jack Canfield, the creator of the Chicken Soup for the Soul books, as well as the author of the Success Principles, as a trainer in the Canfield methodology. Over the past 15 years, I have been teaching people how to overcome the limiting beliefs and traumas that have kept them stuck in a cycle of pain and despair. I know what that feels like. I struggled to overcome my own abusive childhood and the resulting poor choices I made because I didn't know any better. I looked like I had it all, the house, the cars, the perfect family, but I wasn't happy. Instead, I felt like I was stuck in a life that I had not chosen, worthless, powerless, and hopeless. Through years of study and working through my own baggage, I discovered the R Factor. And when I did, it changed my life and the life of my clients. This is a program that works, and I'm so glad that you're here with me. So I'm going to switch over to the PowerPoint. So give me a minute while I share the screen, and then we're going to go ahead and get into the webinar. Yeah, play from start. And there we go. Okay. So hang on. There we go. So I've got something really exciting and informative to share with you. In fact, I'm going to be giving you proven strategies for building the kind of life, lifestyle, career, and future you've been yearning for. If life is feeling a bit stagnant for you right now, like you're just going through the motions every day and nothing really changes, I want to take you through a process that'll help you start dreaming again. Has it been a long time since you dreamed? I want to give you the proven process from getting where you are now to where you want to be. I know this stuff works. If you're listening to this webinar, it's because something inside you is looking for something better in your life. Perhaps it's a nagging discontent or a feeling like there must be more to life than this. Perhaps you feel stuck. I know how that feels. This single principle, the R Factor, has changed my entire life. These proven strategies I'll be sharing are already being used by top achievers around the world. People who have succeeded wildly in business, philanthropy, sports, entertainment, science, and more. They've got awesome lifestyles, terrific relationships, fascinating causes that are important to them, all the money they need, and of course, they've got the freedom of making their own schedule to focus on the things that they want to do. I can almost hear you saying, yeah, I've heard all this before, but all I want is to be happy. I want that for you too, which is why I'm happy to have you with me today to go through this proven formula. It's just a matter of following the steps. There are 4 steps in all, and if you had a chance to download and print out the workbook that's included free with this webinar, you'll see there are worksheets you can do in your own time for each of the 4 steps. So let's get started. When I first learned this equation, the equation that changes everything, E plus R equals O, that's what changes everything. When I first learned it, I responded to life's events as they came up. If I got a flat tire, I responded with frustration. If my bank account was in trouble, I was miserable. If there were bumper-to-bumper traffic and I was running late for a meeting, I blamed the traffic. That was until I learned this equation for responding differently to life's events when they came up. Here's the reality. Events just happen. Often you can't control them because they materialize as a result of specific situations, other people's emotions or choices, timing, the economy, the weather, and a million other details that are outside your control. Events just happen. But what most people do when faced with events is they feel harassed and stressed, and they'll do anything just to make the situation go away. That's reactionary, and unfortunately, it often produces an outcome they don't want. So, what's their first inclination? To blame the event or the other person for their bad outcome. Unfortunately, blaming an event for producing a negative in your life puts all the power outside your control. There's nothing you can do about external events. They happen. That's reality. So the only way to get a good outcome is to respond in a way that will bring about the outcome you want. Here's an example. I live about 8 minutes from the middle of town. In order to get there, I have to drive past the university. At every block, there are pedestrian crosswalks with flashing lights. It takes me less time during the summer months to get downtown than it does during the school year. I know that I need to add about 10 minutes during the school year if I want to arrive to my appointments on time, knowing I'm most likely to get stopped by the students crossing the street. So on the days I choose not to plan for that extra time, I get to choose how I'm going to respond when I'm late for my appointments. I actually used to blame the crosswalks. Now I recognize that it's my choice that either allows me to be on time or late. So today, the first step in this life-changing formula I've been talking about is to take responsibility for how you respond to events, mishaps, and catastrophes, but especially how you respond to opportunities that come up. This doesn't mean you have to take responsibility for the event itself. This is usually out of your hands, but how you respond is 100% within your control, and that's the one leverage point where you can change what you get out of life. So taking more responsibility for your responses is the first and most important step toward creating more success in our lives. You can be thoughtful and deliberate, or you can be frustrated and reactive and emotional. It's always your choice. And what's so terrific about this concept is that it puts control back in your hands. This is especially important when opportunities come up. Opportunities for you to get ahead or achieve what you want. Do you know that some people react emotionally when an actual opportunity presents itself? They complain that the timing isn't right, that they're not ready, or that it'll require a lot of work to respond to the opportunity, or that they don't have the money right now. You'd be surprised at the complaints you'll hear from some people when an opportunity arises. But here's the second point about the E plus R equals O equation. You have to give up blaming and complaining about the event and focus on how you'll respond appropriately and positively. Getting back to negative events that happen, what do most people do? They complain, but tend to complain to the wrong person. If I'm upset that my boss, Erica, has given me a ton of extra work to finish by tomorrow morning, I complain to my coworker, Stephen. And if I'm upset with my spouse for spending on a major purchase without consulting me, I complain to my best friend. That doesn't solve anything because you're complaining to the wrong person. It is wasted energy. I was once going on ad nauseum about a problem I was having with a web designer. And the person to whom I was complaining, I finally noticed when his eyes began to glaze over. And I said, "What am I talking to you for? You can't do anything about it." And then I called up the web designer and had the conversation with them. I need to tell Erica that her timing or prioritization of projects is unworkable, and we need a better system of scheduling. I need to tell my spouse that I want to create a household budget so that major purchases are planned and paid for before we make the decision to buy. I needed to tell the web designer, not my friend. If I speak to the right person instead of the wrong person, the right person can do something about it. They have feedback that I would like something different. Of course, that person won't always grant my request, but at least communicating my request is the first step to actually getting what I want. This is just mature discussion. It's relationship management 101. But what about natural disasters and other events that don't involve individual people? I can respond differently to those events too. I can leave an extra 20 minutes early for meetings in case of traffic. I can keep up on the economic news and put extra savings aside if I hear a recession is predicted. I can upgrade my skills so that I'm still valuable to the new management team after my company gets bought out. And I can have the right kind of health foods in my refrigerator so that I'm not eating on the run or grabbing junk food because I'm too busy to shop or cook. Instead of spending most of our time blaming things outside of ourselves, the weather, our boss, our partner, the traffic, the economy, or the current president, we can take action in advance and be prepared. We can devise ways to increase our options should disaster occur. Whatever the world throws at us, we have to stop blaming something or someone outside of ourselves. So taking more responsibility for our responses to events is the first and most important step toward creating more success in our lives. Another important part of taking responsibility and not being a victim in life is watching out for something I call yellow alerts. Yellow alerts are little events or comments or recurring situations that you notice that act as clues that something is happening or is about to happen that's not going to work in your favor. Here's an example. I hire Sarah as my personal assistant, and 2 months later she says, "I'm thinking about marrying a wonderful guy who lives in the Bahamas." But I ignore that. A month after that, Sarah says she's really falling more in love with this guy and also hates the rainy weather here. A few weeks after that, she's buying bridal magazines and looking for real estate in Nassau. Then all of a sudden, Sarah quits and I'm surprised, unprepared, and scrambling for a new admin solution because I wasn't paying attention to the yellow alerts Sarah was giving me all along. There are lots of yellow alerts in your life, like your teenager comes home late night after night with a rank smell on his clothes, or a senior executive from head office has been repeatedly visiting your department with no explanation, or your biggest client has been giving projects that are ideal for you to other consultants. You wonder, well, what's going on here? But you don't want to say anything because that would be uncomfortable. Unfortunately, because mature conversations and inquiries and taking action is inconvenient or uncomfortable, we tend to deny the yellow alerts rather than act upon them in time. The truth is we're almost always given clues that things are coming. We are not the victims here. I would like to direct your attention to 2 different exercises in the free workbook that was included with today's class. If you don't have your workbook yet, you can download it after this webinar is over by going to the link that was in your confirmation email when you registered for today's webinar. You won't need your workbook to do any exercises right now, but to get the most benefit from today's class, please do the exercises sometime this week. The first exercise I want to explain is something called a difficult or troubling situation analysis. Just like an unexpected event, we all experience ongoing, troubling situations from time to time. It's just part of life. No matter how well you prepare to avoid these hardships, they sometimes simply happen. And if not addressed, they can trouble you for years. It's far easier to resolve the situation and then move on. What kind of situations am I talking about? A teenager or sibling who's not speaking to you, a financial difficulty that's getting worse every day, a health condition that's annoying, nagging, or uncomfortable, a tense atmosphere at the office, that sneaking suspicion that your spouse is being unfaithful. The key here is to respond to the event, whether it's sudden or long-standing, with a commitment to resolving it so that you can move on to creating better outcomes in the future. The difficult or troubling situation analysis will help you get past a current situation so that you can focus on your success again. The exercise has full instructions in the workbook, but essentially asks you to analyze the payoffs or benefits you get for keeping the situation like it is, the negative costs of keeping it like it is, your part in creating it or allowing it to be like it is, and actions that you could take or requests that you could make to get what you want instead. Don't fail to respond to a troubling situation because it's easier, more convenient, less uncomfortable, less confrontational, keeps the peace, or doesn't require taking risks. Take action. Don't allow negative outcomes to be your fate. In the same way, you don't want to fail to respond to a yellow alert because it's easier or more convenient or less confrontational. There's a second exercise in your workbook called, What Are You Pretending Not to Know? If you're experiencing negative outcomes in your life, perhaps you're ignoring the facts or excusing your part in creating a problem. To help you identify areas to take corrective action or take action to prevent eventual disaster, the exercise asks you to examine each area of your life and determine if there's a problem that you are ignoring or creating. You might be ignoring something to do with your health, or your money, or your family, or your lifestyle or career. Whatever this is, this exercise will help you respond to the yellow alerts before something disastrous occurs. The next step in the proven success formula that I introduced at the beginning of this webinar is that you have to decide what you want. One of the most amazing phenomenon you'll ever experience as you incorporate this formula into your daily life is the unexpected phone call, the windfall financial benefit, or the uncanny new acquaintance that brings you exactly what you want or need in order to achieve your goals, almost as if it were planned. Perhaps it's the universe rewarding your new taken action by harnessing all the forces at its disposal. Or perhaps you've worked hard and have grown yourself to the point where you're finally ready to receive a benefit that has been waiting in the wings all along. But more probably, as researchers now believe, it may simply be a matter of your subconscious mind focusing on and recognizing opportunity when it arrives. It's called the Baader-Meinhof phenomenon. Whatever the explanation, the reality is what you want wants you. Your goals, desires, and needs are patiently waiting to gravitate toward you once you decide what you truly want. Of course, the main reasons why people don't get what they want is that they haven't decided what that want is. They haven't defined their goals exactly in clear and compelling detail. After all, how else can your mind know where to begin looking, seeing, and hearing if you don't give it specific and detailed goals to achieve? There's a very powerful technique for helping you define what you want in vivid detail. I'll be talking about that technique in just a moment. But before defining the ideal life that you want for yourself, here's a word of caution. Make sure that your wants are personally important to you, not those you believe should be important or those the world expects you to have or something your mother wants you to focus on, but that's truly important to you from the deepest place in your heart. Don't live someone else's dream. Unfortunately, the sad reality for most people is that they're simply not honest with themselves. If they were, they would realize their shoulds are almost always less interesting and more hassle than what they truly want. Here's an example. Many people who have become social media influencers or industry experts were working dull jobs and following a career that other people thought was fantastic, but their lives didn't really become thrilling or fulfilling or meaningful or even lucrative until they started a decorating blog or started consulting with small businesses or started writing cookbooks. Once they were living the life they truly wanted, all the necessary opportunities showed up, including the money. One of the easiest ways to begin deciding what you truly want is to ask a friend to help you make a list. Have the friend continually ask you, what do you want? What do you want? For about 10 to 15 minutes while jotting down your answers. You'll find the first wants you run through aren't all that profound. In fact, most people usually hear themselves saying, I want a Mercedes, I want a big house on the ocean, and so on. But by the end of the 15-minute exercise, the real you will begin to speak. Things like, I want people to love me. I want to make a difference. I want to be significant in my field. Wants that are true expressions of your heartfelt desires. So that's a quick exercise you can do with a friend, then trade places and help them make their own list of wants too. But to really create your definitive list, I want you to turn to the page in your workbook and find an exercise called the Vision exercise. And it will help you decide what you want to be, do, and have in the 7 major areas of your life. The Vision exercise is also located in your workbook. This is an exercise you do privately, just you alone. You don't ask anybody else's opinion. Start by putting on some relaxing music and sitting quietly in a comfortable environment where you won't be disturbed. Then close your eyes and ask your subconscious mind to give you images of what your ideal life would look like if you were living it exactly as you want. Visualize your life in 7 key areas: your career and professional life, your finances, your recreation and free time, your body and physical health, your relationships, your personal growth, your community work. As you go through the exercise, you'll be defining what you want to be, do, and have in each of these 7 areas. There are ideas, prompts, and memory joggers in each section to help you think through your ideal life. But your subconscious mind knows what you want and should be the ultimate source of ideas for you. Even if you don't have the workbook with you, let's do a little bit of this exercise right now. Close your eyes now and begin breathing deeply. Breathe all the way into your belly. Imagine that you're breathing through your heart. Take a deep breath and another. Now imagine that you are in your ideal home environment. Where is it located? What is the view outside the windows? What are the colors of your main living areas? What kind of decor or art objects do you have in your home? Is there music playing in the background? How do you feel as you stroll through the rooms of your ideal home? Now come back slowly and open your eyes. What you just did was an example of the vision exercise you'll be doing later in the workbook. It takes time. Don't rush it. If you don't immediately see images of the different areas of your life, that's perfectly okay. It still works just as well if you are just thinking of the ideal elements versus actually seeing yourself in those environments. Let your mind wander a bit. Dream a little. When the idea comes to you, write them down in the workbook. Let your dreams go. Many people set aside an evening to do the rest of this exercise. So tonight, after this webinar, is a good time to get started on this lengthy exercise. But it's an important one because they will ultimately form a goals list of things that you need to work on. Okay, so here's some really good news. Those wants that you'll be identifying later in your workbook are achievable. In fact, for most everything we want, someone else has already done it, already created it, already owned it, or already achieved it. So there's not much of what we want anymore that is so lofty it can't be accomplished. But the key to getting what you want, and here is step 3 in the formula I first introduced way back at the beginning of the webinar, is to set goals around the things you want to be, do, and have. And how do you set a goal? By writing it in such a way that it's specific and measurable. That is, someone other than you can know for certain whether you've achieved that goal or not. Let me give you an example. If you said, I want to own a house at the beach someday, that's a nice dream or desire that you have. But to make it into a specific and measurable goal, you need more information. And you need to state it in a way that there is certainty you'll have that beach house one day. Like this. I will own a 4,000 square foot house on Pacific Coast Highway in Malibu, California by 12 o'clock midnight, April 30th, 2025. Do you hear the difference? This second version of your goal tells your brain exactly what you want to achieve, not just a vague, dreamy hope. If you want to retire early with millions of dollars invested, for example, state the exact amount you'll have invested on the exact date that you plan to retire. As part of the vision exercise in the workbook, you'll be turning all of your wants into specific and measurable goals that you can begin working on and achieving. That's exercise number 4. And here's a bonus idea. Why not create a minimum goal, target goal, and outrageous goal, sometimes called a BHAG, a big, hairy, audacious goal? Whenever you write down your specific and measurable goals, set 3 different levels that you will achieve. Let's say you want to build a large savings account and get out of debt. A minimum goal might be putting together a $1,000 emergency fund in the next 30 days. A target goal might be to save up 3 to 6 months of living expenses in the next 8 months. And an outrageous goal might be to pay off all your consumer debt and even your mortgage in the next 7 years. The outrageous goal is always something that would just blow your mind if you achieved it. Your target goal is usually something within your capabilities, and your minimum goal is something that you're almost guaranteed to reach. But it gets you going and taking action, whereas an outrageous goal might seem too overwhelming to even begin. What happens with this minimum, target, optimum formula is that most people will start with the minimum. Then they get motivated and end up reaching their target goal very easily. Have you ever said, I'm just going to get rid of those old dishes stored in the garage, and the next thing you know, you've cleaned the entire garage and even called a local charity to haul away a truckload of cast-offs? It was just a matter of getting started. You could even delegate the entire garage to a professional organizer or trade with a friend by doing something for them, and that would achieve your target goal for certain. Breakthrough goal. While goal setting is an important step to achieving that wants on our dream list, most of the goals we set focus on improving our life in the moment. Things like get the house painted, finish my sales report, clean out the laundry room, lose 20 pounds. But what if instead you focused on a single goal that would uplevel everything you do, from your career to your career network, to your income, to your lifestyle? Wouldn't that be a goal worth pursuing with passion? Wouldn't that be something to focus on a little each day until you achieved it? Think about it. If you were an independent sales professional and knew you could get a substantial bonus commission and maybe even a promotion once you landed a certain number of customers, wouldn't you work day and night to achieve that goal? If you were a stay-at-home mom whose entire lifestyle and finances would change by earning an extra $3,000 a month, wouldn't you pursue every possible opportunity for side work or your own part-time business to achieve that goal? That's what I mean by a breakthrough goal. Something that changes your life, brings you new opportunities, gets you in front of the right people, and uplevels every activity, relationship, or group you're involved in. What might your single breakthrough goal be? There's an exercise in the workbook that will help you decide. But for the purposes of this webinar, whether you believe you can achieve it or not, what one single change in your career, business, lifestyle, or relationship would boost you to the next level? Is it landing a promotion, changing jobs, expanding your business, finding your soulmate, qualifying for an award, getting back to school, moving across country, retiring early, or some other goal? Take some time later to think about your breakthrough goal. There's a page in the workbook to figure it out and jot it down. Look for exercise number 5. I want to finish our discussion of goal setting by talking about a technique that helps you achieve major goals in record time. It's a way to get your brain focused on assembling the resources, people, money, and circumstances needed to bring about your everyday goals and especially your breakthrough goal. It's called affirmations. Affirmations are vividly detailed statements of you living, working, and enjoying life as if your goals had already been achieved. Affirmations help the brain focus on bringing about your heartfelt desires. One example of an affirmation is, I'm happily depositing my first $100,000 royalty check as a best-selling author. Another affirmation is, I'm joyfully receiving the company's top sales award. How do affirmations work? As scientists now know, the brain is a goal-seeking organism. If you give it a compelling, colorful, crystal clear image of what you want, it will work night and day to create the opportunities, contacts, resources, and circumstances needed to achieve that vision. In fact, the brain has a special function called the reticular activating system that filters through the millions of impressions, images, messages, and thoughts it processes each day and passes to your conscious mind the specific information that will help you reach your goal. For example, if you've ever thought about speaking at your industry convention as a way to boost your career, then immediately remembered you met the National Education Director last month at a trade show, that's your reticular activating system bringing your ideas and contacts that can help you achieve to your goal. Reciting your affirmations frequently throughout the day actually focuses your brain on the goals you want to achieve. Writing them out on index cards, note cards, your smartphone's wallpaper, on a sign at the bottom of your bathroom mirror, or in other places that you see frequently, is a way to constantly focus on your most important goals. My best advice is to write out your specific and measurable goals on 3x5 cards, then review the cards in the morning when you first wake up, and again at night before you fall asleep. You don't always have to know how you will accomplish that goal. Just keep visualizing yourself in the future as if you had already achieved it. It's also powerful to add color, sounds, emotions, and other sensory aspects to your visualization time. As you review your cards, try to experience the feeling of confidence as you deliver the keynote address at your industry's annual conference, or the scent of the cinnamon rolls baking at the bed and breakfast hotel you recently opened, or the sound of waves breaking at the senior executive retreat in Hawaii, or the joy you'll feel as you're living out your dream career or professional accomplishment. Repetition is the key. The workbook includes detailed guidelines to help you write powerfully effective affirmations for your unique situation, using your goals in previous exercises about what you want to be, do, and have. Look for exercise number 6. Of course, we've come to the most important step in the original 4-part formula I introduced at the beginning of this webinar. It's step number 4. Take action on your goals. Sometimes our biggest life goals seem so overwhelming. Though we may work hard at achieving them, too often we decide to put them off altogether until we have more time, more focus, more energy, or more manpower. We rarely see our goals as a series of small tasks, but in reality, breaking down the goal into smaller tasks and accomplishing them a few at a time is precisely how any big goal gets achieved. By breaking down your goal into bite-sized pieces and baby steps, you can begin accomplishing the small tasks that you've determined will lead to achieving your goal. But be aware, preparing to move forward isn't the same as taking action itself. In other words, preparation, research, planning, getting it perfect, these are all areas where people get bogged down and never actually start taking action. They're too busy getting ready. But the one thing I recommend you actually start to take action on your goals is something I call chunking it down. If you had a target goal of saving up 3 to 6 months worth of living expenses in an emergency fund, a sample goal that we mentioned earlier in the webinar, what steps could you take to pull that money together over the next 8 months? Could you, number 1, determine the amount of money per month that you would need? Number 2, identify what portion of your current savings you might use for this special fund. Number 3, Make a list of money sources to have, such as overtime pay at work or a holiday bonus. Number 4, make a list of unused items that you could sell on Craigslist or let go. Number 5, open a new bank account for this money before starting to earn more and sell things. These 5 steps, which are essentially research and making lists and going to the bank, are all things that you could do in just one day, and in fact, probably in one afternoon. By making lists of what needs to be done, you've effectively chunked down all the tasks into small steps that are doable and achievable, which leads me to a helpful strategy for taking action, and that is practice something called the Rule of 5. The Rule of 5 simply means that every day you do 5 specific things that will move your goal toward completion. Bigger goals might take longer, but the Rule of 5 still applies. Do 5 things every day until your goal is achieved. These are things that don't include doing your laundry unless you haven't done it for a very long time. The Rule of 5 simply means that every day you do 5 specific things that will move your goal toward completion. Bigger goals might take longer, but the Rule of 5 still applies. Do 5 things every day until your goal is achieved. Take buying a house in Hawaii, for example. That's a very big goal. But chunking it down and doing 5 things a day still applies. You have to find out where the best locations are. Decide which island you want to live on. Find out how much homes there cost. Determine how much money you'll need to save. Research where you can get your financing. Decide where you'll get your furniture. Determine the repairs or decorating budget you'll need, and on and on. Once you decide all these things and chunk each larger goal down into small steps, you can begin taking action on these steps. 5 steps a day until you achieve your goal. While he didn't call it the Rule of 5, a seminar leader I knew once said that in order to arrive at the life of your dreams, you simply, 1, make a wish list of the activities, finances, and lifestyle you'll be enjoying once you get there. 2, break down each wish list on the list into the steps you'll need to take to achieve it. Number 3, choose a number of those steps to achieve each week or month or year. And number 4, achieve them. That's the game plan we're talking about here for achieving the life of your dreams, or for achieving virtually any impressive goal you've set for yourself. Is there something that hinders people from taking any action at all? Of course. One thing is the feeling that they can't accomplish even the smallest of baby steps. They don't feel confident. Another is that they feel overwhelmed by the sheer amount of stuff they already have to do. And a third is that they have to ask someone for something in order to move forward, and asking is something they are simply afraid to do. Well, let's address these obstacles right now. I'm actually going to start with the second one I mentioned. People feel overwhelmed by the amount of tasks they already have to do. Most of us have incompletes and messes around our households, offices, relationships, families, finances, and other major areas of our lives. We've got overflowing closets and broken screen doors, and 6 years worth of tax paperwork and bills that aren't filed, and a fight with our sibling that's still unresolved, and a nagging health condition we need to address, and on and on. We have incomplete tasks and messes that aren't cleaned up. So one way to stop feeling overwhelmed by what you already have to do is to clean up these messes and incompletes first. It's especially important to handle these incompletes because what one psychologist calls attention units. You can only attend to 7 things at once. Beyond that, you can't. So when you have a cluttered desk, when you're constantly seeing all these papers and unanswered letters and 3,000 emails in your inbox, these things steal your focus away from the other tasks you want to accomplish. You look over your mental to-do list and think, oh, I should move that. I should put that away. I should answer that. The more incompletes you have in your life, the more your focus and creative energy gets fractured and scattered. The other reason is it's important to clean up your messes and your incompletes is that doing so builds self-confidence and self-esteem. When we have a lot of incompletes in our life, we're consciously or unconsciously judging ourselves as incompetent and incapable because we haven't completed them. Every time you look at these messes, they're reflecting back to us the message, you aren't handling me. We're either afraid to handle them or don't know how to handle them, and this fear and lack of knowledge compromises our feelings of competence. By handling the incompletes, we get more time in our lives to focus on those steps that will bring about the really important goals and dreams we have. So take the time to put all of your incompletes and messes down on one list, either on paper or in your computer. Walk around the house and note things one by one, room by room. Go through your stack of bills to find anything not handled yet. Share with your spouse any family relationships that are in bad shape. Once you have these things listed, you can prioritize them. Then tackle one a month or one per quarter. You don't have to think about the others all the time because you know they're on the list and will be handled in the order of their importance. You can even apply the minimum target optimum model to the messes. What is the minimum goal or the smallest incomplete that you will commit to handling by this weekend? What's a larger mess or incomplete you could make a target goal to handle this month? And what's an outrageous goal you could handle, such as an incomplete home renovation, over the next 90 days? Handling incompletes and messes boosts your confidence and creates available attention span in your life to tackle the 5 things a day you want to do to reach your really big goals. But let's address the third roadblock that keeps people from taking action on their goals, and that is they lack confidence when asking for what they need from people who can help them reach their goals. Asking for the help you need is still a challenge that holds many people back. Why are people so afraid to ask? We're afraid of several things: looking needy, looking foolish, looking ignorant, but mostly we're afraid of experiencing rejection. We are afraid of hearing the word no. The sad thing is that when we don't ask, we're actually rejecting ourselves in advance. We're saying no to ourselves before anyone else has a chance to. But here's an illustration to think about. If you apply to Harvard and you don't get in, you weren't in Harvard before you applied, and you're not in Harvard after you applied. Your life didn't get worse. And think about it. You've spent your entire life not going to Harvard, and you know how to handle that. Someone telling you no doesn't make your situation any worse. It just keeps it the same. Well, there's a specific science to asking for and getting what you want or need in the pursuit of your goals. Here are some quick tips to get you more comfortable with asking. Number 1, ask as if you expect to get it. Ask with a positive expectation. Ask from the place that you've already been given it. It's a done deal. Ask as if you expect to get a yes. Number 2, assume you can. Don't start with the assumption that you can't get in. If you're going to assume that you can get an upgrade. Assume that you can get a table by the window. Assume that you can return it without a sales slip. Assume that you can get a raise or that promotion. Don't ever assume against yourself. Number 3, ask someone who can give it to you. Qualify the person. Determine for yourself, who would I have to speak to get this accomplished? Who is authorized to make a decision about that? Who do I have to speak with to get whatever it is you're asking for? Number 4, be clear and specific. Too many people are walking around wanting more money, more love, more help around the house, more recognition at work, more of everything, but they're not being specific. Do you want enough money to retire? Do you want to go on a date night twice a month? Do you want the kids' bedrooms picked up every Friday and the laundry done by Saturday morning? If you're not sure about the specifics, do the research of what it takes to make a specific request. Number 5, ask repeatedly. Never give up. Whenever we ask others to participate in the fulfillment of our goals, some people are going to say no. They may have other priorities, commitments, and reasons not to participate. It's no reflection on you. Just get used to the idea that there's going to be a lot of rejection along the way to the brass ring. The key is to not give up. When someone says no, you say next. Which brings me to number 6, ask someone else. Remember, there are over 6 billion people on the planet. Someone else has enough authorization, is skilled enough, knowledgeable enough, emotionally invested enough, or otherwise capable of saying yes to you. Don't get stuck in your fear. Move on to the next person, and the next person, and the next, until you connect with the person who can help you. It's a numbers game. Someone out there is waiting to say yes. So we're coming to the end of today's webinar, but I want to close with a couple of things. Number one, I want you to choose right now one thing that you'll commit to doing to create the future you deserve, starting tonight. Whether it's decide what you want to exercise in the workbook, or write your first 3x5 affirmation cards, or handle a difficult and troubling situation. Whatever it is, make a mental commitment now and share it with us by posting to the chat board of this webinar. Remember, when we share our goals, they are more likely to be achieved. So we just spent the last 60 minutes together, and I think I know where you are right now because I was once there. I was actually an attendee at a webinar just like this, where I found the R factor, and all I could think about at this point was, okay, but now what? Because my mind was going a million miles an hour, I started to see an entirely new possibility for my life. But I knew that I needed more. I needed the next step, I needed a process, I needed accountability, and I wanted it now. And if you're at that place, I have a feeling that many, if not all of you, are at that point. I have a really special opportunity for you to consider. My upcoming 6-week virtual group coaching program, The Success Principles, kicks off really soon. I want to make sure that you give yourself permission to experience this program with our group. So what do I mean by this? Well, the only reason why someone would not immerse themselves in a process like this because they simply don't feel worthy enough of having it all. In their financial, career, recreational and free time, physical fitness and health, relationships with family and friends, personal goals, community service, contribution and legacy. And guess what? I used to feel that way too. The concept of having it all seemed so abstract and so impossible that I did not even allow myself to think about the possibility until I learned the success principles, which is why I am so motivated to share this experience with you and or anyone else you know that is ready and eager. And I'm making a special offer that will expire in 48 hours. This is such a revolutionary program. This 6-week interactive group coaching experience is so much more than just group coaching, because one of the things I'm going to give you when you become part of the Success Principles is a workbook different than the one you already have that is going to literally guide you through the entire 6-week process. But in addition to that, I want you to work with one another. There's going to be anywhere from 10 to 20 or even 50 of you that decide to do the Success Principles with me, and you're going to gain as much value from me as you do from each other. So I want to make sure that you can connect and unite. I have a private Facebook community set up just for the people that are involved with this group so that you can actually work together. You can share your wins, you can share your challenges, and everyone can achieve more as a result. But there is coaching involved, because there's an actual formula that I'm going to guide you through. It's 6 weeks. Every week we'll go in on a Zoom session, just like we are right now, and it's only for the members, and we'll be able to see each other. And each of those 6 weeks, what I'm going to do with you is to guide you through different proven principles that thousands of people around the world are following right now that have absolutely transformed their lives. I really wish that you could know some of the people that I know that have taken this principle and completely reshaped their lives. It's absolutely amazing, the stories that they have to tell. I'm going to answer your questions, record it, and download it into the Facebook group so that you can watch it over and over again. And there's also an accountability system built in. I want to make sure that you never miss one of our group coaching system, or at the very least, you're going to watch the replay. So I'm going to be sending you emails and text messages each week to ensure that you're following through with what you've learned. Because I'm sure that you're just like me and you've tried programs before and you didn't really follow through. Not the fault of the program. They just didn't have the accountability built in. But I know that this program has made such a difference for me that I am motivated to hold you accountable. And I'm going to ensure that you're going to stick to this program. But ultimately, the greatest value I can offer you is my ultimate focus. I am in this to win this with you. I am committed to your success. I'm diving deep in these 6 weeks and beyond so that you can begin to live the life that I know that you want, that you know that you deserve, but you just needed a path to get there. And the Success Principles is that path. So the price of this webinar is going to be $14.88 in the future. That's what the investment is. But I have an early adopter special that I'm going to leave up for the next 7 days. So for the next 7 days, if you sign up, you can actually lock in a price of $4.97, which is really a bargain. You're getting so much value with this. But if you're the kind of person like I was when I was on the receiving end of this webinar, and if you're the kind of person that said, I know what I want, then I have a special for you. Because if there's one thing that I've seen after being in this work for so many years is that people who see something and know that it's what they want and take immediate action, they get the greatest result. And that's my ultimate motivation, is for you to get the results that you want, and I want to reward you. So if you take action now and you sign up for the Success Principles, our 6-week group coaching total immersion experience, I'm going to discount the early adopter special to only $2.97 for you. This is only available for the first 48 hours after this webinar is done, because I want to reward the people who say, right now, I know what I want. And I'm going to get you into this group so that together we can transform your life. We can transform the lives of everyone in this group, and together we can achieve more. So what I'm going to ask you to do right now, I'm going to answer any questions that show up. If you are that person who knows what it is that you want, take action now. Grab one of the limited spots, and you're going to see that the promotion is there for you to sign up on. I would love for you to experience this program. The URL is at the bottom of this page. One of the things I really enjoy doing is coaching and advising people in achieving their dream lives by setting goals and taking action. This webinar and the accompanying workbook are just a small part of what I do with my clients. I'd like to close with an invitation to contact me for any additional help that you need. Sometimes it's difficult to find a friend or family member to work on these life-changing concepts with you. They aren't always supportive, and they may even be throwing roadblocks in your way because you're rocking the boat and trying to change. That's where I can help by being an outsider to coach and help you identify paths to reaching your goals. If you have any questions, please put them in the chat and I will respond. So join me in the 6-week course, and thank you so much for joining me on today's webinar. And I just wanted to hop back on here. If I can get there, I can get the video to open. I just wanted to hop back on here and say thank you so much for joining me. I really, really would love to have you with me in this 6-week program. I promise you it will make such a difference in your life because it has completely changed mine. So I hope to see you soon. Bye.